Hi everyone, I'm Amy, and today I'm going to be presenting a quarterly update for spring 2022 on my project path, which is process adjustment by tackling hangups. So the problem in many introductory computer science courses is that learning to program is hard, and students can struggle to overcome programming challenges on their own. And so students can often feel imposter syndrome and that they can't succeed in computer science because of their struggles. And the reasons behind this are because they don't feel supported. And so in interviews, I found that many students that were struggling felt like they didn't have peers that they could reach out to, or that they didn't have anyone they could go to for computer science questions, and that they lacked social support. Additionally, students also felt embarrassed asking for help because they felt like these questions were simple or things that they should already know. And so this leads to the problem statement that struggling computer science students want to become more resilient learners, but don't know how or who to reach out to for help, which leads them to feel unsupported and unable to succeed in computer science. And so the goal of PATH is to help struggling students reach out to more experienced peers in computer science that can provide support and resources, while also making it easy for them to share what they're struggling with without feeling embarrassed. And so PATH takes inspiration from different existing interfaces for social support, such as Panoply, which was from a research paper that aimed to provide online peer support for those with depression and allow users to ask questions that they would be embarrassed to ask face to face, as well as Reddit, the Northwestern Reddit, the Northwestern subreddit, where users can receive social support from other students. And so users could reflect on some feeling of struggle or discontent with their time at Northwestern, and then receive support from other students. And this was all on Reddit, so it's under pseudonyms. And so some of the shortcomings of existing solutions, in addition to Reddit and the Panoply example, are the CS Mentor program and CS GroupMe. And so these programs are trying to provide support for computer science students. However, the CS Mentor program is more career focused and only has one mentor for many mentees. And so it's often hard for students to reach out to us for help because it also lacked regular communication. And so one student reflected that their group only met once and never again. And additionally, it can be hard to ask for face-to-face help. And with the CS GroupMe, there was a lack of responsiveness from peers. And so it often felt like nobody was answering. With the Northwestern Reddit, there was social support among other students, but it still lacked resource recommendations. And an existing solution to provide students with different learning resources to help them overcome their obstacles is ASLA, which is the Academic Support and Learning Advancement Center. However, many students are unaware of the resources that are available from ASLA and which ones to try to help them overcome, which ones they can use to help them overcome their obstacles. And so this leads to PATH's conceptual approach, which is to provide a space where struggling students can share their experiences and receive resource recommendations from peers that have gone through similar struggles and obstacles, while also enabling anonymity to help users overcome the fear and embarrassment associated with asking for face-to-face help, while still giving them the support they need to become better learners. And so to get to this conceptual approach, I conducted need finding over 4 different design sprints and iterations with students who are unsatisfied with their current computer science learning processes. And so I asked them to rate their satisfaction on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being the lowest. And so I interviewed students that rated their satisfaction as a 3 or less. And so I conducted these interviews across 4 different design iterations across 10 weeks. And between the 3rd and 4th design, I conducted interviews with practitioners, Heather Bacon and Dean Holgreave, who are academic counselors that work with students that are struggling. And so my first design was trying to get students to reflect on their process and think about an assignment that they struggled with, in addition to just looking at the end result. And so some of the shortcomings with this design were that the reflections on process were still very shallow and didn't get to the root cause. And so a lot of users mentioned that they felt like they struggled with time management, but didn't reflect on why they felt, why they dealt time management issues. And also these interviews didn't target past ideal users who are students that want to improve their process. And so even though these students felt like they struggled with a specific assignment, they still got good grades and didn't feel motivated to change their learning processes. And so to overcome this obstacle of targeting ideal users, I added in the screening survey question about satisfaction with process. And so in the second design, I was trying to get students to reflect more deeply on their root cause. And so instead of just having a question about how students felt about their process, I had them look at a specific obstacle they faced with a computer science assignment and then use the 5 whys. So the user would first fill out this first question, and then I would Wizard of Oz a deeper question that was related to the previous answer to try to get them to reach the root cause behind their behavior. And so users were able to get to the point of recognizing that the root cause for the obstacles were things like imposter syndrome, but a shortcoming was still that the design didn't support them after this. So students could recognize that they had imposter syndrome, but the design didn't really support them after they got to the point of recognizing the root cause. And so my third design, I tried to get students to connect their root cause to a specific behavior. And so I had students outline their process and then look at reflect on what points imposter syndrome made them choose outcomes or behaviors that didn't support them beneficially. So students would reflect on these 4 questions once they would first reflect on their process and see which part their root cause came in, and then reflect on the root cause. However, like the previous design, this still didn't really offer any solutions or support to the struggling student after they recognized where in their process they were struggling. And so to kind of get a better sense of how to support struggling students, I interviewed Heather Bacon, who's the director of advising and Dean Halgreave, who is a point of contact for students that are struggling academically. And so this helped me shift my design to become more compassionate and shift from the mindset of getting students to do something to supporting them. And so Heather Bacon provided resources that students can use when they're struggling. And so she gave me examples of places to look, such as the PATH in McCormick, which is the Personal Academic Tactical Help, as well as ASLA. And then Dean Halgreave provided support on how to change students' mindsets. And so one quote I thought really stood out was was this thing that he said, you want to be in the most challenging environment you can tolerate. You want to be somewhere you can be pushed. In order for that to happen, you should take advantage of all resources, which he commonly shares with students who are afraid to ask for help. And so this helped me change my old problem statement, which I used for my first 3 designs that struggling students want to avoid and change ineffective behaviors that cause them to give up the assignment, to one that focused more on providing students with opportunities and resources. And so this influenced my 4th design, which is trying to provide students with resources to help them overcome different feelings of stress in computer science. And so how this design would work was that students would reflect on something they were feeling negatively about in computer science and why they were feeling that way. And then from there, I would highlight different resources that would help them based on the reflection. And so the highlighted in green ones were ones I suggested to the student who was feeling like they were having difficulty asking for help from other students or asking for help in computer science. However, shortcomings of this design were that it still didn't address CS specific questions that users had. And so the student felt like they didn't know where to go to ask questions. And a lot of these questions were kind of ones that you would have to ask a peer, and also feelings of embarrassment asking for face-to-face help. And so this led me to my current design and interface, as well as my current design argument. And so this design provides a space where struggling students can share their experiences and receive resource recommendations from peers that have gone through similar struggles, while also enabling anonymity to help them overcome the fear associated with getting support they need. So in this on the left side, the student that was struggling would reflect on some negative experience they're facing in computer science, and then create a post that would be shared publicly, but anonymously. And so on the right, we have examples of different posts that other students have shared. So there's two views. The one on the left is a student that's reflecting on a struggle, and the one on the right is a student that wants to provide advice or support to other students. And so in this example on the right, another student could offer different solutions to someone that was struggling with imposter syndrome, and then start a follow-up discussion with more detailed descriptions of what next steps the student could take. And so this is still early in the user testing stage, but I think one finding from this design was that the student liked the idea of having a place to go where others can anonymously post about stuff they're struggling with and foster an understanding environment in computer science. And also felt like posting anonymously was more comfortable than sharing struggles face-to-face with other students. And so for next steps, I want to run a more in-depth user study with the design that enables users to share resources with each other as they would regularly outside of an interview environment, and see what different resources are suggested and if these resources could support a student that is struggling. And I also want to think about what systems could enable the interface I showed previously and how to assure safety with anonymity, and ensure that students are actually providing valuable advice and not leading to any negative outcomes. And so some takeaways from PATH this quarter are that PATH allows computer science students to feel less alone in their struggles by showing that other students have undergone similar experiences, and also allows them to offer and receive advice and support that has been tried by other computer science students. Yeah, thank you for watching.